thank everybody for coming. I believe we should be getting more people coming in, but we blasted it out because we think that it's very important to have our, our school board candidates here. We have 3 candidates and one person, what was his name?
Doug Suoka.
Doug Suoka is not available today, so he can't be here. He's out of town. So we have Robert and Minh today, and thank you for Rhoda and Eric from the Milpitas Beat. They're going to be facilitating the forum, and I think I'm just going to hand it over because it was a little bit late. So I'm going to hand it over, and I'm very grateful for everybody that came. We really appreciate it. So we hope that we'll see you at all our other monthly meetings. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, everybody. So I'm Rhoda from the Milpitas Beat. Thanks everyone for being here. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of a formal candidate forum where we have timekeeping, we're going to be kind of opening this up as a conversation. And just kind of see where things flow. And I feel like, we have 2 members here who are currently serving on the school board. So it's an opportunity to get in depth and to really get their thoughts and their visions. So we're kind of just going to have a conversation. I have some questions here as a foundation. And then after that, like half an hour of that, we're going to move into audience questions. So we're going to invite audience to, just stand up or sit down if you like and just ask the question.
Whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to stand up.
All right.
And ask the question, free flow, for another half hour of audience questions. Then we'll close it up with them for final question, any final thoughts they might have. So, I'm estimating about 60 minutes, 60 to 70 minutes or so. All right, how does that feel to everybody?
Perfect.
Good.
Works for us.
All right. And I think we're ready. We're ready to start. So I guess the first thing I want to ask is, why are you both running for re-election? And what would your top priorities be if you were re-elected?
Cool. I'll go first. Sure. All right. Cool. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Robert Jung. I've been on, this is my 4th year on the school board. I'm running for re-election because as a resident of Milpitas for 30 years, 22 of those 30 years being involved in the Milpitas Unified School District as either involved in PTA, school site council, or CBAC or various other roles within the district. I am very, very committed to education. My background, for those people who don't know me, I've started into, believe it or not, engineering. I graduated as electrical engineer. I somehow got into a path into education. But for me, education it's really a life changer. And this is why I want to spend the time to sort of give back, since I've been so successful and lucky that I've been able to have be in a position where I can give back. So I want to give back to the community that I live in. For those people who know me, I'm all about our community. I do various things around the community. And being involved in our school district is a cornerstone of building a stronger community. And that's probably the fundamental reason why I choose to serve. And also, I think I can make a difference in our kids' lives, and I want that to be the future for Milpitas.
Nice. And how about priorities?
Oh, priorities. Okay. Probably my number 1 priority is, there's always a group of kids who come from various socioeconomic challenges. I really want to focus on that. I don't want those kids to be forgotten. Whether they're immigrants or migrants or whoever, I want to make sure they have the same opportunities as most of our other kids. And sometimes that's challenging, and I think it is a priority, at least for me, to make sure those kids have those opportunities, because I grew up in that class of folks who didn't have those opportunities. And because people stood up for me to give me those opportunities, that made a huge difference. And I want to repay that. So that's number one. Number two, you know, we here in Milpitas have a great foundation for being an awesome school. We've got our innovation campus, we have our world languages at Randall, as well as a brand new theater that will be coming up, as you may see, here at Milpitas High School. I think those are cornerstones for a great curriculum and great experience for our kids. And my third thing will be around growing emergence, let's call it, of AI. And I want to make sure that we use or prepare our kids to use AI in a correct manner. Not like Facebook where it grew out and started growing all sorts of other unintended consequences. I want to make sure that when we put in AI and adopt AI, it is for a positive manner and we have the appropriate guardrails necessary.
Thank you. Minh?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Minh No. I'm current board president of the Milpitas Unified School District. I thank you all for being here this morning on a Saturday, on the weekend. Thank you to the Sunny Hills Neighborhood Association. Folks, if you don't know, they're really community-oriented organization. So for the folks out there, if you want to get involved in the community, please look into the Sunny Hills Neighborhood Association. Thank you to Milpitas Beat. It's hard to find local news organizations that really care and report about the community. And so thank you to both Sunny Hills and Milpitas Beat. The reason why I say that is we're all about the community. As we continue to look at public education, we're really making sure that our community of students and parents and the infrastructure is really set up so that we can continue to grow. And when we say that in education, education is about learning, and so you're always growing. And as a father of 3 kids, the only candidate right now that has kids in the school district, I started this because I wanted to get involved. I got involved when my daughter was in kindergarten, and thus continuing to be able to provide the opportunities for our students to learn. It's that ability to identify what our kids need, because as a school district, we have to provide quality education at where our students are at, not necessarily what they were 20, 30 years ago. And as Trustee Jung mentioned it as the emergence of AI, that really is the next step for our students to really think about their future careers as how they're going to engage with AI. If you haven't heard, the new Gen Alpha generation is titled as the iPad Kids generation. And as much as we as parents and community members kind of look at it as, oh, they're getting distracted, technology is really, inhibiting their ability to learn, it's actually the reverse. It's the safeguards and rails that you really think about and putting it in place for our students. And so when I think about the 5 years I spent on the school board, I've shown my dedication to ensuring that we provide quality education for our students. As far as the priorities going forward, there's really one simple priority. Again, providing the best quality education, public education to our students. The challenge in that is how do we go about that? And so there's a multitude of avenues that we continue to explore as far as partnering with the workforce development and looking at advanced manufacturing in our innovation campus. We're looking at phase 3 to hopefully build out an early education structure so that we can really inspire folks to continue to be teachers, continue to be innovators in that space. As you heard from across the country, it's hard to recruit teachers. In that sense, we have to provide the opportunities for them to learn and find that purpose as well. So I want to continue the work as a school board member. Again, I'm dedicated because I still have kids in the district, and it's funny that in that sense, I didn't think 5 years was going to be a long time, but it really went by in a flash, and I would like to continue the work.
Nice. Okay, so I want to kick the conversation off by, I feel like it's a new era of education in Milpitas, right? Because as Rob mentioned, right, we have the World Languages School at Randall. We have the Innovation Campus, which just had its phase 2 ribbon cutting, right? Milpitas High School Extension at the Innovation Campus just opened for the first time in August and started welcoming students. We have the Performing Arts Center that's opening in August 2025?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
And that's our
So
target.
there's all these exciting things happening. And so what do you guys feel the impact of all these big moves? What do you feel the impact this is going to make on education in Milpitas? And if reelected, how will you help to usher in this new era of education?
It's a great question, and that's why actually I'm so excited, because we have these opportunities available for our students. I mean, when we look at the Innovation Campus of what it can be, when we link that Innovation Campus to the workplace, we link it to higher education in terms of colleges, the kids who go through that have a unique opportunity to get hands-on learning and really get in a position so that they are very, very successful in their, basically in the science and technology area, since that's where innovation is, right? And we've just had recently, meet up with University of Pacific. We hope to meet with other types of universities to get their input, because what high schools need to be able to answer, in my opinion, is that they need to understand from the colleges what is needed for our high schools to prepare our kids so that they will be successful in college and going forward. So I think the universities, having the partnerships with universities, having the partnerships with industry, where we ask our industry, what is it that you guys see as the next technologies to prepare our kids for? It'll give us great insight as to how do we make those pathways happen. So I see a huge opportunity for our kids. I'm excited that they have that opportunity, but pathways aren't limited only to science and technology. With the theater, I expect and I hope that I can help to grow the idea that, theater, arts, performing arts, and my daughter played a huge portion in that when she graduated. She told me that was a impactful piece of her journey because it helped her to be creative. And we need to be able to provide those pathways, whether it's world languages, whether it's performing arts through our theater, or Innovation Campus. Those are huge opportunities that I see our district can take a lead on and be one of better districts in Santa Clara County.
Nice.
Thank you, Trustee Jung. And the purpose of a great governance team is you get a difference of opinions, you get to hear different focuses. Thanks for the question. In regards to the investment in building out these facilities, it's really going to set us up well beyond the 2 decades that those buildings are, slated to survive. The reason I say that is because in this day and age, it's not enough to just get into a high-achieving university, the Cornells, the Columbias, the Stanfords. Our students today are curating content well before college. And to provide that ability so that they can learn to curate content in a safe environment is right now here in Milpitas. In the Innovation Campus, we have an esports lab, we have a robotics lab, we have a media lab as well. And when we talk about building the space, it's amazing to see Phase 2 built, but now we got to get the students and families to understand that that's the opportunity for our students to come and learn. And so the focus will be to increase enrollment as far as coming to the Innovation Campus, because our students are already saying that. If you're in elementary school and you ask them what their career focus is, you'll find, surprisingly, a lot of them say they want to be YouTube creators, YouTube content creators. And thus, they're already seeing the future, and we have to help them along the way in their pathways. As far as the Performing Arts Theater, there was so much about mental health that we want our students to feel comfortable in expressing themselves, and that's through performing arts. And in the city of Milpitas, we don't have an amphitheater space quite like the one that we're going to build at the Performing Arts Theater here at the high school. And so when that is built, we're going to have the ability for our students to really host a play, host concerts, really get that feel of more than just a localized aspect of a local gym, but really experience the full performing arts venue. And that will help them become adults quicker, but in the most appropriate way to become leaders in the communities that they will go and seek.
So I'm kind of curious just about the performing arts, that whole center. Do you know is there a plan already in place for like programs? Are more staff coming on board to be able to facilitate these kinds of experiences, these creative experiences for students?
At this point, I don't know that we're there yet. I know there are wishes, desires. It is going to be a place where we used to have our kids perform, especially our elementary bands. We had such a tough time squeezing all of our elementary bands into a gym, and it was so big that our bands are so big that we had to split it into two, right? This gives us the opportunity, this new theater will give us the opportunity to really allow those kids to perform all at once, so that as the community, you can see what our kids are capable of, number one. And number two, it will give us the ability to do really performances from the theater as well as our choir, all of those performing arts, all in one place in one sitting. So in terms of future things, there are ideas, I'm sure. I mean, there are some folks who might say, hey, let's bring in a symphony. It may have an opportunity to work with the community to bring other types of performing arts. But at this particular point in time, we're not there yet. It's still early. Let us get to ribbon cutting, and we'll have a further discussion.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, there's a high amount of interest as far as organizations that want to use the theater. And so when we get to that point where we finally get to the ribbon cutting, we can sort all that out, because we can't really make promises until we understand the availability from the students, because first and foremost, that theater should be utilized for our students.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, they're practicing outside. They're not practicing in a classroom.
Right.
And so we don't necessarily need additional staff, but it's going to provide additional classrooms that are connected to the Performing Arts Theater. And also the General Performing Arts Theater is open for the students to practice, not just from the high school, down to the elementary level, because right now, again, some of them are competing for their multi-use gyms at their elementary schools. And so to provide the theater as additional classroom spaces really opens the door for all students.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, did
I
you have
just want to
anything else?
just throw just a little bit. I think it does open opportunities for community collaboration. So maybe perhaps through collaboration, there may be outside staff that's added to it, but I don't know yet. It's still too early, but
great.
it just gives that opportunity.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
What would you say to those students who are, maybe they don't have an interest in performing arts, right? And maybe they don't have an interest in science and technology. Sometimes, sometimes it can seem like in this region, we're so focused, right, in that area, in the science and technology. And while the Innovation Campus is extremely positive for our community, what about other careers that are out there? Like, what other types of things can MUSD do to help encourage students who might want to pursue other careers?
Like becoming an electrician for the electrification of our country. I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but
things like that.
there you go.
I understand. So that's a great question. And one of the things that really, for me, as a trustee, and I've seen Milpitas Unified grow over the last 22 years, is the fact that we, at our core, believe in multiple pathways. So if it's not science and technology, if it's not performing arts, there are options to go. For example, NJROTC, we've talked about that. We've also talked about the Milpitas Middle College that offers different pathways that way. There are also pathways, and one of the things that, as a trustee, that I'm very interested in is specifically working partnerships with our trades to give them the opportunity. When we are building these particular buildings, you will see that we have opportunities for students to get introduced to the actual construction industry, right? So we believe in pathways. If you see there are pathways that aren't being explored, come and talk to me, right? But I believe that Milpitas, the uniqueness of Milpitas Unified is really about us not necessarily providing 1,000 straight A 5.0 students. It's really about providing pathways for our kids who get excited, who really believe in getting really passionate about what they're doing. Because for me, passionate kids find their way. Passionate people find their way. So I think Milpitas Unified, at least in terms of its pathways, we are open to finding as many pathways for our kids to be successful in the future.
Nice. And President No, how do you feel about this?
Well, the problem with letting Rob go first, is he takes all the really good points.
All right,
But,
switch it up.
as a governance team, right, and I know Rob says come to him, but as a governance team, we look to hear back from the community. We continue as one of our mission goals to build pathways for our students. And so the reason why we have Milpitas Middle College is for students that want to also pursue other careers, but get college credit as well while being in high school. And so that's an opportunity for them to financially save money on those general ed courses at bigger universities, but be well prepared to understand, hey, once you get to college, you already know what the track that you're interested in. Because a lot of times, and I'll tell you this, as a college student, you actually waste a lot of money trying to figure out your pathway. Because how many times does a college student change their majors? 3 to 4 times. And every time you change your major, you're taking,
money.
yeah, it costs money to change that. So for our students to really take those college identifying courses early, they can figure that out without necessarily hurting their own pockets or coming in student debt. That's one way. Our Calaveras Hills provides another alternative opportunity for our students who, can't necessarily sit in a classroom, 6 hours a day?
No.
But, for whatever life reasons, they have to address either getting a job to support their families or other personal issues, but they still want to educate and learn. And we want to encourage our students to find that passion, regardless if it's, technology, performing arts. We support the avenues that they want to continue to grow in. Excuse me. Yesterday, we had Advanced Manufacturing Day with the partnership with the City of Milpitas, and we visited BD Biosciences and also Corsair Gaming. And, engaging in technology doesn't mean you need an engineering degree, but it's the life and world we live in today. I'm sure everyone here has a cell phone, and that's technology being used. Everyone, no?
He does it.
I have a flip phone.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. But, as our students are doing, the cashier register, it's not really a manual cashier register, these days, it's a touchscreen, touchpad. Again, they're engaging in technology in ways that they don't necessarily need to study, but they have to understand. And so when they're going through the courses at the Innovation Campus or doing the performing arts, all those tidbits are going to build the character of the student as they
Yes.
move forward.
I love that. Okay, I want to move into challenges right now. So one of you brought up in the intro part about staff shortages, okay? So I want to talk about why. So why do we have staff shortages here at MUSD? And if you're reelected, what would you do to work towards solving that? And let's
wanna
start
take
with
this
you.
It's typical, I get the harder questions, right, from that standpoint. It's a wonderful question. From a staffing shortage perspective, it's hard to get people to be inspired to take this career path. Historically, the income that they get is a really low starting income for a higher degree, because most teachers have to have a master's in education before they can start teaching. So we build pathways with local universities so that we can help them meet their hours to build up for their teaching credential, but also get to experience the culture that we have here in Milpitas, because that is unique in this county to really tell folks that we're a district that supports our staff, that really focuses on our children's education, and that we holistically hear feedback from all, not just the teachers, but our classified staff as well, because they are the gateway for our students that come into our campuses, and they also help keep that efficiently run from that standpoint. As far as the funding aspect, though, public education is historically underfunded, especially here in California. When we look at how our district is funded, it's property taxes, it's state income, and there's also additional grants. being a district that is considered local community funded, our property taxes don't meet the level of spending that we have to spend for our educators and our staff. And so when we continue to look at the opportunities to find additional funding, we have to go out to community organizations, to the community, to really feel out what services we want to provide our students and how we can get that additional funding.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and I'll just add to what Minh said. I mean, teaching, at least from an economic salary perspective, especially living in our region, which is one of the highest cost regions, it's just extremely tough. The only way that you want to do this is you have to be passionate about doing it, and as I indicated, passionate people find a way. Now, that doesn't mean from their pocketbooks it's very easy, and it's probably very painful, but from my perspective, the teachers that spend the time, their heart into the work of teaching our kids, some of them are truly, truly passionate about what they're doing. Now, in terms of, unfortunately, the structure, the government funding structure that we live in doesn't appreciate that, right? And so one of the things, if I get reelected, I will spend more time with our state and federal, if necessary, representatives to reiterate the value of our teachers, especially in the time of rapid change, which is where we are today, right? I will also encourage folks who actually, believe it or not, there are more and more mid-age folks who are retiring early and really who are looking for ways to give back, and maybe we can encourage those folks to lend their knowledge, their experience to coming back and helping our young ones, especially if we're, as a district, really around building pathways. How do you excite those kids? And maybe as a second career, those are the opportunities for those people, and maybe we can get some teachers that way. But fundamentally, in my view, our education system, our funding of education system, whether you look at our basic aid versus our local control funding, methods of funding, unfortunately does not meet the need, especially in a high cost area. So something must change, and we will do, as a representative, I will try to come up and suggest as many ideas as possible and see which ones will stick.
Rob, can you just explain basic aid?
Oh, sure. Excuse me. So basic aid funding, so there's two types of funding, two types of methods of funding our local schools, right? Basic aid is those that are in areas that have sufficient property tax, that they bring in sufficient property tax. They're funded directly from that property tax and not from the state.
Like Palo Alto?
Palo Alto is an example of a basic
Yes.
aid district. Very simply, it's the property taxes are more than enough to
What?
cover the operating expenses of the school
the
district.
Right. Otherwise you will get funded from the state, which is the local control funding. Okay,
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down.
sure.
Okay, so let's
Thanks for reminding.
let's move into audience questions.
Uh-oh. Tough questions.
Yes, Joseph.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Which,
The first one.
who's first?
I think Joseph was
Joseph,
first.
okay.
Can you guys explain Measure Q, please?
Yeah, no, great question.
Oh,
And-
can I just say,
Oh.
just for the microphone here, because it might not pick him up back there, he's asking, can you explain Measure Q?
Yeah, certainly. And to really emphasize this, as school district employees, we can't necessarily, not as employees, as board members, we can't necessarily advocate on Measure Q right now, but we can educate on Measure Q. And so the education of Measure Q, it's a parcel tax. It's only $119 a year per property. It's to help fund those positions that the community has come back to us as a board to say, please don't cut those positions. And that's our health clerk nurses, that's our mental health professionals, anyone else specifically?
Career counselors.
Career counselors, mental health
Right.
counselors.
Physical ed. Let's see, off the top of my head, I think we've covered the key basics.
Physical health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I will say is that, you know, it also has a provision for household who are seniors that they are exempt or they can apply for exemption of that particular parcel tax.
Yeah, and so the reason why we're putting Measure Q on the ballots is the one-time fundings from the state have dissipated. And so those went to cover those positions. And when we went to look at cost-cutting measures, those were the first positions that were up for cost-cutting. Again, the community came back to us, asked us not to cut those positions, but we have to find a way to fund those positions. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. You said, how much is this?
$119 per year per
But
home.
that's not a new $119. I thought it's only a small increase over what we're now paying now. Am I wrong?
It is an additional $119 per year.
But I thought we're paying some of that now. Are we paying it on top of that?
This is on top of the $84 per year.
Thank you.
And so those are two separate parcel taxes. The first parcel tax is for a certain amount of criteria that the voters approved upon. We can't move the funds from that to something or reallocate from that. And so this next set of parcel tax here is to specifically address those positions.
Thank you.
So if you remember, the $84 was really focused on our science teachers. It was really for making sure that science was a priority at our schools. So that, we don't want to take away from that, right?
No.
And Robbie had a question.
So I've got my LoopWorks hat on.
Uh-oh.
And I was talking with my LoopWorks hat on with a council member, Han Lien, a few weeks ago. And after, kind of talking about the technology and the project we've got planned for the metro area, she pointed out that getting a connection between the Innovation Campus and this campus was potentially a good application for the technology. Going so far, I think she even suggested maybe that should be the place where we start. So that says to me that there may already be some energy on the city council to do something like that. And I guess what I'm asking is there interest from you two candidates in exploring or continuing to explore the possibility of connecting these two campuses using this pod car technology? So if you got some energy on that one way or the other?
I'll go first.
You wanna go first?
I'll
Okay.
go first. Sure. So transportation, especially here in the valley, especially here in Milpitas, is an issue, right? We have the, every morning, if you look at Calaveras, Montague, maybe sometimes even Jacqueline, it's a challenge. In terms of solutions for that transportation, we would certainly have to take a look at, all the different alternatives. If this becomes a viable option, I think we can look at it. But we have to really see a business plan, something that builds out and say, this makes sense. So that's kind of where I stand.
It's a very simple answer. If the city is willing to invest the funds to build that transportation, we as a district are not gonna, blockade it because
I'm not gonna say no.
our funding needs to be focused on educating our students, but the city should be focused on the infrastructure of our city. And so if the city is willing to spend, hey, we are ready to partner with them.
Well, first off, let me correct an impression that most people do have, is that LoopWorks is looking to get money from the city. It's actually the other way around. LoopWorks is expecting to get money from outside investors that bring in this $60 million infrastructure project that'll raise the property values and therefore the property taxes of all the properties in that vicinity. And we estimate that that rise is going to generate roughly $1 million a year in additional tax income, property tax income to the city. So I don't want people to walk away thinking we're looking for something from the city. We're looking to provide something that actually increases the revenues financially for the city, but also, because it would be an inexpensive way of getting around, it tends to reduce the cost of transportation for people. Obviously, there's environmental consequences, which are wonderful if you implement this kind of technology. And then the social aspect, the service level aspect, is off the charts compared to the options that are currently available. So we think that it would be a huge benefit to Milpitas, but we haven't seen a real conversation happening, and so there's a lot of misunderstandings that seem to be out there. So I'm looking forward to further conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Joseph?
Years ago, we invested money and got grants for electric buses. Can you talk about the success of the electric bus program and how well it's working?
Okay, so just for the mic, he just said, talking about
Okay.
the success of the electric bus program and how it's working.
Yeah, no, so going green is a focus here in our community, being in Silicon Valley. The challenge with the electric buses, right now, they don't have an infrastructure to charge the buses as we go from one location to another. And so a lot of that recharging of the buses happens back here. And so it limits the distance and the field trips that our students can take. However, locally, it's been fantastic for our students because it's low carbon emission. It allows our drivers to continuously drop off our students locally. And again, the challenge, and we're looking for the state to really build out a better infrastructure for, you know, school districts to be able to maybe charge at another school district or another charge point. You know, we don't have Tesla supporting us from that standpoint, but I would love for that infrastructure to be part of our school electric bus system.
Just to tag on to that, the state is starting to invest in, how do we call this? Semi-truck replacement units that run on electricity and need massive amounts of juice in a short period of time to charge up. So that, once that infrastructure starts getting built out, then our buses, even at relatively short ranges, will be able to jump from charger to charger and get longer distances.
So I just want to comment on that. Yes, that is true, but I do worry a little bit about those particular charging stations just because that technology may not be compatible with the technology that we have in our buses. So we have to consider that.
Dude, you're an electrical engineer, you know you can change this stuff around. Come on, just get the adapter.
It's just the cost associated with that, so.
One thing to add too is in our district, we do have solar panels installed in our various school community sites.
Early adopter.
Early adopter, and that helps with lowering the cost of recharging our buses as well too.
Yes?
Yeah, I have a question about AI in
Sure.
particular. It uses tremendous amounts of electricity.
Correct.
And in a state where they're having a difficulty with providing electricity, probably because they've been shutting down every nuclear reactor they could, and renewables, being intermittent, require backup that is basically fossil fuels. And so there's going to be some kind of problem trying to meet the demand with increasing AI everywhere and increasing, was it Bitcoin or stuff. So there's going to come a point, I'm afraid, that this bubble, you know, of AI may collapse. And I'm concerned, what would the state do? I mean, what would the city do if that comes about with AI so big on the charts here at Milpitas? All right.
I think the mic.
Okay. So from my perspective, you know, AI is truly in its infancy, right? Certainly, our technology companies are leaders who are building these AI and these AI models that require the huge server farms are, you know, definitely are going to find, and they have found different ways to deal with that. I mean, certainly they're using solar farms, they're using, believe it or not, there are data centers under the ocean that basically uses the water currents to actually generate electricity. So there are ways. However, what you point out in terms of the demand of AI versus, what we can actually provide, especially here in California, is indeed a challenge. But I would suggest at this point in time that because it's in infancy, we're not really sure. I mean, yes, there's a lot of hype about, hey, we're going to build out all these farms and to support AI. I still wonder is that, it is not inconceivable to me that one day someone might ask the question to an AI, how do we solve the power problem, right? So it is possible that there are solutions that we're not aware of. However, I would caution right now, because everyone's trying to jump on the bandwagon for AI, that we really don't understand what we can or cannot do, and especially with guardrails and understanding, especially with generative AI, what we can build, and whatever we build, is that something that we can use? And what are the rules around? Is this something good or something bad? I think we're still way, way too early in the game, and to get to a point where power exceeds the demand for AI, I'm not sure we're there yet. And I think we will, I'm sure, as a matter of fact, I know of companies who are working on that specific problem. So we'll see what happens. I cannot predict the future, but I think the problem is well recognized. People are working on it, and it would not surprise me that we will have probably a solution for that.
Call me a catastrophist, but
Sure.
between now and then, I can see the prices of electricity just going way up, and there being huge pushback because of that, and they'll blame all this effort on AI and on.
You want to take that, or I?
So we're a school district, right?
Yeah.
We're focused on student education,
okay.
and thus we want our students to learn about AI so that they can help solve those problems in the future. And part of our AI task force right now, and some of our staff that are learning about AI, they're asking our students, can you break AI? Can you figure out how to dismantle it, make it not provide the right answers, identifying the wrong answers, etc. And so when we talk about addressing AI, it is going to be part of their future. It's already part of our future. I mean, anyone that has a Ring doorbell, who uses Siri, and please don't turn on, Alexa, so forth, right? There's already a piece of AI that we're living with. And so our students are going to be educated in a way that really identifies that issue, because when they look at global climate change, now they can understand that next step of the power issue, et cetera. We want our students to be able to solve that future problem.
You're a step ahead of me then.
No problem.
Joseph?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for that answer. For those of you who don't know, when Macintosh came out with Apple, we heard exactly the same thing about Macintosh computers and students. And I've been here since 1976. Gotta compliment our school district, because they put together a program for our students that understood the changes in technology. And I'm watching you doing exactly the same things with AI. You're not gonna be able to answer the electricity, but thank you for making the point that your responsibility is to work with the students. We did a phenomenal job in taking what Apple Computer and IBM brought to our students, and now it's like our students, they're using it like phones and things like that. So thank you guys for being part of that, and thank you for addressing the fact that what it is that you're focused on in AI, because that, for me, is the appropriate response from the school district.
I hope the future, owner of that company that solves that problem comes from Milpitas.
Yes.
One of the things that's going on right now, if you look at a lot of countries throughout the world, is it's just kind of what Rob brought up, is this kind of twofold path. We're building up with AI, but we don't have enough electricians. So what a lot of countries are doing, especially when you address the teacher shortages, is they're tapping into graduate students to actually help, and they're making it part of the curriculum. So for example, if you have an advanced calculus class on site, they're going to universities and they're saying to people that are getting their graduate degrees in math, part of your curriculum is gonna shift over here so that you can help, work with these kids that are showing exceptional talent they're taking advanced calculus. But then there's another problem because you don't wanna go too far over there so that you're leaving the kids that are not in that predicament out. So my question is, how would you address this kind of bifurcation of, we need people that are involved in AI, but we also need electricians? And I kind of look at what's going on with the chargers in California. We set really aggressive dates, but if you hear a lot of people that have cars, they're saying, I don't have anywhere to charge my car. So I'm not saying it's a foreshadowing of what could happen, but how do you make this distinctive, make sure everybody's covered, but then make sure, like Rob said, that you do have people that are concentrated on AI, but what are we gonna do about electricians?
So basically, the question is how to make sure we concentrate on AI, but also we don't
The
have
people that
enough
are gonna service it, the people
electricians
that are gonna have to go into trades.
who are
I
gonna
mean,
serve us,
and,
yes.
It's a very long process to become an electrician.
The transition, the
you know,
transition is, sorry.
How long?
Oh, you have to, go through the union and everything to become.
Apprenticeship.
Yeah, apprenticeship is very long.
apprenticeship.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems to me that we have two things that that are kind of like addressable. How do we make it more attractive for people to go into teaching, but also how do we make it so that the people that don't want to go off to college and go into AI, but then maybe they want to be electricians?
So, so as I indicated before, Milpitas Unified is really all about pathways. To build these particular pathways, it's also implying that we have to teach our folks, especially our kids, how to explore. So the electrician, the trades, the performing arts, the high-tech part of it, and I will suggest there are even new fields that we don't know today, which is, for example, let's talk about AI. When we talk about AI, it's not only the technology. What about the ethics around AI to set those particular guardrails? We will need lawyers who are probably very talented around understanding the technology of AI so that they can set appropriate guardrails so that we don't go crazy and build something we don't really want to build, right? Which is possible, right? So I think the way I would approach that is, it is, within Milpitas Unified, we want to build as many pathways as possible, and we want to make sure that our kids have the ability to explore all the different possibilities and perhaps even the areas that might not exist today. We have a huge growth spurt in space, for example, that we don't perhaps today can think about what are the careers necessarily around space travel. It could be, for example, what happens if we have a space hotel and someone needs to run a space hotel? What kind of job is that, right? So I don't know, right? So I would suggest that as our school district, as we, and I believe it's truly unique around our school district, is that we are firmly believers of creating pathways. And, as a board member and working with the board, we will continue, I believe, we will continue looking for those particular pathways, which gives the opportunity for kids to take a look at our trades, take a look at maybe jobs that doesn't exist today.
So when we passed Measure AA, the funding allowed us to do a lot of construction projects here in the district. And when we were coordinating with our various construction vendors, we asked them, could you please develop internships or field trips for our students to come and see the work that you're doing, because it's a moment in time for them to learn. And our partners were open to that. And so, building the innovation campus took plumbing, took electricians, took architectural firms to draw up the plans. Our students got to see that on their field trips, and they got to hear from the people who worked there directly. A lot of them didn't go to college. A lot of them started working in the trades right after high school. And through meeting those students in the field trips, they actually provided a couple of summer internships for students. And they really did get inspired because a lot of them weren't looking to seek higher degrees, but they knew they had a skill set that they could apply. In addition, when our school district doesn't have those opportunities, we do partner with Metro Ed, which provides career technical education as well. And we had a student at Calaveras Hills that wanted to be a veterinarian. And so she was able to go to Metro Ed and take a couple of courses there to really build her pathway there. And so well, a lot of the buzzwords are AI technology, Silicon Valley focused, but we also ensure that when we have conversations with our students, that they can find those pathways because, again, we're a district that listens to our students.
Okay, we have time for one more question. I know you here.
So my question was related to sports. The kids who are interested in sports, they are getting less opportunities inside the schools. They have to go outside and they have to grab the classes. And then they are growing in their own level, like soccer or, I see less opportunities in MUSD inside the campus. Like for bands, you have your indoor campus for practice, for classes, but for swimming, you have your indoor complex already, like you give opportunities. But for sports, now I see Weller and some of the schools are giving opportunities. They are bringing 49ers to give them classes. But how would you help them who are very much interested in sports, but they don't have enough opportunities inside the school or in the school timings?
And so physical education talks about building a healthier students, not necessarily getting involved in extracurricular activities like sports. However, in Milpitas community, we have a multitude of little league organizations, soccer organizations, outside organizations that provide that. I know that City of Milpitas, for families who can't afford that, does provide opportunities to cover the registration fees for students who want to participate. I think the biggest thing and challenge is driving the kids to the practices more than anything else. Because during the school day, we have to educate our students. Outside of that, it's really up to the students to figure out their extracurricular activities, whether it's in elementary school, middle school, or high school. Now, competitively in our high school, we do offer a range of sporting teams and sporting activities that they can join, but it is competitive, and so they do have to make the team for that. So I think what you're really looking for is how do we provide them the opportunities at an early age to build up the skills so that by the time they get to high school or something, that they're ready to compete.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Rhoda, can I ask the last question?
Sure. Did you
No,
want to add anything to that?
I'm happy with his
You're-
answer.
yeah, good answer.
He's a good
Well,
answer.
again, I have 3 young kids. One kid plays Little League. The other one did play softball, and I'm kind of disappointed she's not continuing softball. You see that, Zoe? And I have another daughter that does ballet. And so I understand as far as, trying to get them involved because you want to build a healthier, more involved student or child. But at the same time, there are opportunities. And so if the student does want to participate in those programs, we can get them connected with the city services to provide the additional, support.
It would help if they start as early as possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
At least you are the center, the board members and the school is the center from the kids up to the adults, so you're helping everybody, you're in the middle, you're the center.
Yes.
I think Joseph.
Okay, let's go final question with Joseph.
Final
I'm
question.
gonna triangulate the 3 subjects that can come up,
Uh-oh.
sports, communication, and transportation.
Okay.
This is all within just the local school district issue. I'm a docent in Historical Society. Bill Hare and I are docents at the museum, the Jose Alviso Museum here in town. And one of our most important programs, we do special things every month for just the public in general. We have what we call open visitation. But we also do specially arranged schedules, and it's with students, okay, class field trips. And we do those independently, and usually during the week when they're in school and so on. Okay, so now here's the thing that we've noticed. We've been doing this docent activity for 2 years. And I should have been bringing this up with Cheryl, so that's my fault. What we've noticed is the following thing, there are 10 elementary schools. Why do I mention elementary schools? Third grade has a California curricular requirement for local history. Fourth grade has a curriculum requirement for state history. And so, okay, so third and fourth are actually ideal in terms of educational needs, because we basically, by doing field trips with third and fourth grade classes, I mean, we're actually a resource for the teachers, because, and especially local history, third grade is really the hardest for them, because you have the least curriculum materials that are generally available, okay? So these field trips are very, very, very local, right? And they're learning about local history. This is the thing that we've noticed. We have 10 elementary schools. Over the course of 2 years, we now basically have built where we're getting about 5 schools coming. 2 of them are walking distance, and they're the ones that are actually the best users at the moment of what we're doing, because they can do a field trip where they'll have other adults, parents come, they can help with the excavator, but they'll walk to the museum. We'll put them through a special program for them. It's part of something we do for everybody, but we do special things for the students. And they have lunch there, and we have some games so they can burn off energy, and then they walk back to school. So for the ones that are walking, it's a full day field trip. But what we're noticing is that we have a few schools that are coming by bus simply because of distance. Okay. In one case, we had classes come by public transit, not by school bus, but by public transit, okay, to the nearest drop point, which is actually Calaveras and Port Victoria. And then they walked up into the Adobe Park to meet with us. What we discovered was, and so this is my issue, this has to do with transportation of students for field trips, and these are all in town, right? All these schools are in town, the museum is in town. They pay for the bus. And I had no clue that they were actually having to pay. That was a big budget issue. So those that were walking were early adopters, whereas those that were needing bus, they're late adopters. And we don't even have it. And we only have about half of the schools at the moment that have really gotten into our program.
And you're suspecting they're later adopters because of the cost?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some coming, and I've had teachers come.
So what's the question?
The bottom line is that this is a local educational resource. The city put $8 million into this project to make this park and to restore it. And it's a really valuable resource, not only in terms of expense, but in terms of the educational aspect, because the kids actually love it. So the issue is, I don't know how we pay for the school transits for sporting activities. This is an educational activity that's not even distant. We're talking about roughly 2 to 3 mile bus trips.
Okay,
And
All
so
right.
the question is, okay, the question is, the Historical Society takes students on these trips, right, to this $8 million park. What is it, Adobe?
Alviso.
Alviso, that's right. I get those two mixed up a lot. So the Alviso, you want to take third graders, fourth graders there. So you're concerned because it's that the teachers have to pay to transport the students there?
I
Is
would
that-
assume the school does.
Okay, so do you want to
okay.
respond?
So my kids actually did the walking trip to the museum. It's a fantastic location, and you're absolutely right. It's great for the curriculum to learn about local history. Our budget only allows for transportation to and from school to be part of school. It doesn't have an additional budget line for field trips. And this is where we ask our parent-teacher organizations to really help support, the teachers who plan these field trips for our students. And so that's where that additional cost is, to identify and rent the buses. Now, we don't have enough buses to service all 10 elementary schools at once, so there's a competition for getting on the bus schedule. And so a lot of times we have to go outside the district to identify other districts that have free buses, available buses, not free buses, available buses for them to utilize to transport, because we are responsible for the safety of our students to get them transported to whatever location. And so I would probably connect with more of the PTAs to say, hey, let's look at those field trips for the third graders, because you haven't been there. I can easily talk to them about the value of that for their students. At the same time, look at the budget for them to fundraise to be able to provide those field trips.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this is,
Yeah, do you want to
it
add?
shouldn't be
Yeah.
an economic issue.
Right.
You know,
So
because
one.
they're short trips.
So absolutely, PTAs is the one particular source. Another source could be our foundation, and that could be something we should explore. And we'll kind of work with Cheryl and see if there's ways to do it along with the schools. I just want to, President Null reminded me to answer your real question. We actually have the Milpitas Elementary Olympics on an annual basis that
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be providing additional opportunities for your kids to participate in different
Yes,
sports.
that
So
is
just
very exciting for kids always.
okay, good deal.
They are very excited.
All right.
It's coming,
Nice.
it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And
Thank you.
so they do practice during the school day for the elementary competition that happens on an annual
I
basis.
think we have to connect with the school. They give very, very limited time, so they always ask for go out, like get some practice and all. We have to connect.
Gotcha.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you, thank you.
So many great questions. Thank you so much, everyone. So we are going to go ahead and move into giving them the last word here. So maybe about a minute apiece, if you can just, anything you want to leave voters with before they walk out the door.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And so, as board members, it is an elected position, so for us to continue as board members, we need the community support by your vote. And as a governance team, we're so focused on educating students, and you can't do it without a team. On a 5-member board, if you have dissenting opinions and not under the same mission and guidance, you really detract from the work. And so with myself and Rob being experienced board members, as you can tell from our conversation, we do engage, we do listen to each other, we do have difference of opinions, but we understand the focus and the mission. So I would actually ask the voters to please support both of us in this upcoming election. Each of you should have already received your candidate guide. And so if you want to know more about us, you can read both of our statements as well.
Is the missing guy in there too?
Yes,
Okay.
He's in there.
So are you in?
yes.
Okay, so I think certainly as a team, experience counts, and actually the way we work together counts, right? Because you don't want folks who can't work together, and I believe that Minh and I work well together along with our current governance team. So I would encourage, just as Minh said, please consider voting for both of the incumbents for the Milpitas Unified School District. We want to continue to serve, and we hope that we've been doing really well with it.
And I'll say, we're the first 2 options on the ballot, so 1 and 2.
I love that. I love how you guys both used your closing statements to hold each other. That's great. Yes. So thank you both so much for your responses and your time. It was so great to have this conversation with you both. Yes, just wanted to remind everyone that you can select 2 board members. And so this was the second in our series of candidate forums. We will have the 3rd and final forum at the Milpitas Library on Wednesday, October 9th, and that is the mayoral candidate forum. So if you haven't RSVP'd for that one, please go ahead and do so. It's almost full, so if you want to RSVP, you should do it now. And yeah, I think that's it.
I just want to say thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for Milpitas
Thank you.
and SNA,
And
wherever
Sunny
you are.
Hills, thank you
Yeah, we're
guys so
Sunny
much.
Hills.
So, just one,
Oh, more questions.
No, there is.
So, Yoli couldn't be here for the closing
Oh,
of the
okay.
meeting, but, so she asked me to speak. I'd like to thank the BEAT and the board members of the high school, and There's plenty of snacks here, so please help yourself on the way out, and, let's see. I guess we'll see you next.
Awesome.
One last thing, there's a Q measure on the ballot. The yes on Q person is over here. I said, when am I gonna get my lawn sign? She said, give me your address and I'll get it delivered. So, if you want one, talk to her.
Wait a minute, as long as he's gonna talk about Measure Q, I'm gonna step up and talk about Measure Q. All of you who come here are interested in the school district.
Yes.
I'm the president of the oversight committee for the last bond measure. The most important thing that you can do in regard to supporting the school district Measure Q right now is to make sure that people understand that our school district is always shown absolute accountability for every dollar that we spend. And like I said, I'm the president of the ward. I run every single meeting, and I have for the last 6 years. Not once have we ever had to challenge the contractor or the board in regard to how we spend our money. The reason I'm saying this is because I've lived here since '76. I've never heard so many people starting to compare Measure Q and J and talk about the fact that we're not accountable for the dollars. So the most important thing you can do is just to talk about, we have an oversight committee. We've had one for every single bond and measure, and we've never, as the oversight committee, we've never had to challenge the school district at all. They've been absolutely cooperative with us. We've asked for invoices. We've asked to look at decisions. We've asked to look at the process with which they're making decisions. We've asked them to explain the financing that they're using for the interest. We've had absolute cooperation, so please, when Measure Q comes up, can you at least take 15, 20 seconds and talk about how accountable our school district has been for our tax dollars? Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Sorry, guys.
No worries.